Okay, so the next type of movements that belong to synovial joints are special movements in that they don't really fit into any particular category, and they often only certain parts of the body can do these types of movements. So here's a list of them, and again I'll demonstrate them in the order that's listed here so that you can have a visualization of what they look like. Okay, so the first ones are only going to be referring to things that can be done by the foot. So the first pairing is going to be inversion and eversion. Okay, so here my foot is relatively normal in the position of anatomical position, facing straight forward. If I invert it, I have now turned it so that the sole of my foot is pointing inwards. Okay, that is inversion. Then the opposite is going to be eversion. And notice that now the sole of my foot is pointing more towards the outside. It's pointing more that way. Okay, so inversion, eversion. The next movement also refers to the foot. Okay, and so we're talking here about dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. Okay. So dorsiflexion means that you're bringing the toes upward. Okay, so here they're regular, and now we've brought those toes upward. The opposite is then plantar flexion, and this is where you're pointing the toes downward. So I think plantar flexion, P, I'm going to point my toes like a ballerina. Point also starts with a P. So plantar flexion, pointing them down, dorsiflexion, bringing those toes up. Okay, now the next movements are going to be referring specifically to the thumb. We have what's called an opposable thumb, and part of that means that it can perform opposition. So here's my hand, and notice I can now bring my thumb towards the palm of my fingers, towards these other fingers. This is opposition. The opposite of opposition, reposition. Okay, next we're going to have protraction and retraction. So protraction means you're going to be moving a body part horizontally. So you're staying in that transverse plane. You're moving it in the transverse plane. If you're moving it anterior in that transverse plane, it is protraction. If you're moving it posterior, it's retraction. So you can do this with your jaw. Protraction, retraction is going to be, okay, protraction, retraction. Okay, you can also do that like that. So those are some of the movements there. And we also have elevation and depression. Okay, so let's start with depression. I can do that with my jaw. That's where you're going to be moving it superior or inferior. So depression and elevation. So depression and then elevation. Okay, I can also do that with my shoulders, elevation, depression. Okay. And then the final one is going to be lateral flexion. Lateral reflection is specifically referring to a bending of the vertebral column laterally. Okay, so if I do this, that's lateral flexion. I can also do it to the other side, and it's still considered lateral flexion. Okay, and so now that you've gone through all of the different movements, here's some homework activities that can help you be able to categorize each of these movements. So you know opposition, that's a special movement. It's not gliding, angular, rotational. Okay. Here's some different labeling so that you can recognize one of these movements when you see it. That's what all of these are. And then here's some to help you get the definitions down for matching.